Imagine a puppet master. He takes pride in every subtle movement, every string he pulls, every perfectly orchestrated dance his puppets perform. The control is absolute, the performance is flawless, and the audience, which is often just himself, gives a standing ovation. Now imagine that one of the puppets, the main one, suddenly goes still. A string is pulled, but the arm doesn't move. Another, to force a bow, and the head stays upright. The puppet master panics. It's not the disobedience that scares him. It's the sudden, terrifying realization that the strings are no longer connected to anything. His power was an illusion, dependent on the puppet's response. This is the exact dynamic that unfolds behind the scenes of your interaction with a narcissistic person. You have been conditioned to believe that they hold all the power, all the strings, all the control over the show. But what if I told you that this belief is the biggest manipulation of all? What if you knew exactly what strings, when ignored, make the puppet master collapse? We're not talking about starting a fight, yelling louder, or trying to play the same dirty game. We're talking about something much deeper. We're talking about understanding the architecture of the narcissistic mind at such a fundamental level that you can, with a simple gesture or a single phrase, disarm their entire power structure. Today, we're going to reveal the 9 dismantling keys, the 9 things that a narcissistic person not only dislikes, but fundamentally hates, because each of them attacks a pillar that supports their fragile, false reality. Prepare to see behind the curtain. My name is Lauren Mitchell. My purpose with this channel is to show you that the problem was never you, and more importantly, that you are not alone. If this video resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. I'm counting on your support. Number 1. Calculated indifference. The first and perhaps most powerful weapon is the one that seems most passive: your indifference. A narcissistic person is like an emotional black hole. They need to suck all the light, all the energy, all the reaction around them to feel real, be it love, hate, anger, admiration, or despair. Any reaction from you is supply. It's a confirmation that they have impact, that they matter, that they exist, and control your emotional state. When you offer anger, they feed on your passion. When you offer tears, they delight in the power they have over you. But indifference is the vacuum. It's the equivalent of turning off the mic in the middle of their big monologue. It's the gaze that doesn't judge, doesn't condemn, doesn't admire. It just registers. The famous gray rock method is hated by narcissists because it renders them powerless. When they launch a provocation and you reply with a monosyllabic, unemotional, okay. When they try to start a fight and you simply say, I understand your point of view, and continue washing the dishes. This leaves them in a state of absolute panic. The absence of a reaction on your part creates a mirror that forces them to face their own emptiness. They expect drama and find a desert. This lack of emotional food starves them, and worse, makes them invisible. For a narcissist, invisibility is psychological death. That's why they escalate the behavior, trying everything to get a spark out of you. Your calm is proof that the puppet master's strings have been cut. Number 2, your genuine success and happiness. In the narcissistic universe, you are a supporting character in their grand story. Your role is to support, applaud, and reflect their magnificence. Any success you achieve is only tolerated if it can somehow be credited to them or serve to magnify their image. She's so successful. She learned everything from me. But your independent success, your happiness that has no connection to them, this is a mortal offense, especially after the discard or when you start to pull away, seeing you prospering at work, getting an award, finding a new circle of friends who admire you, falling in love again, or simply posting a photo where your joy is palpable and genuine. This attacks their core belief that they were the source of everything good in your life. They need to believe that they left an irreplaceable hole. Your happiness proves that not only is there no hole, but the garden has blossomed beautifully after the weed was removed. This retroactively invalidates their power and importance. Every smile you have without them is a silent testimony to their irrelevance, and that, for an ego that defines itself by its importance in the lives of others is unbearable. They will try to sabotage, minimize, or ridicule your happiness, precisely because it destabilizes them so deeply. Number 3, subtle public exposure. The narcissistic person lives by their public image. They build a carefully crafted facade of perfection, control, intelligence, and charm. This persona is sacred. Behind the scenes, they may be a tyrant, but in front of others, they are the star. Therefore, anything that threatens that image with a crack, no matter how small, is cause for panic and fury, and they hate it when this happens subtly, almost imperceptibly to others, but glaringly to them. Imagine a dinner with friends. The narcissist tells an exaggerated story where they are the hero. At the end, you calmly smile and say, "Honey, I think you forgot the part where the neighbor had to help push the car. Good thing he was there, right?" You didn't call them a liar. You were polite, but you inserted a fact that corrected their grandiose narrative in front of an audience. Or when they make a pompous statement and someone at the table, an expert on the subject, corrects them with data. The hatred they feel is not for the correction itself, but for the public humiliation, being ignored in a conversation, having a joke. That doesn't land, being the only one who doesn't get a reference. All this moves them from the center of the universe and makes them common. And for a narcissist, being common is being a failure. Number 4, criticism, even constructive. The narcissist's false self, that grandiose persona they present to the world, is like an extremely thin glass statue. On the outside, it looks solid and impressive, but on the inside, it's hollow and incredibly fragile. Any criticism, no matter how gently delivered or how well-intentioned, is perceived as a rock thrown directly at that glass statue. There is no distinction between constructive criticism and a vicious personal attack. Everything is an attack. Saying, "Sweetie, maybe if you left a little earlier, you wouldn't hit so much traffic," is not heard as a helpful suggestion. It's heard as, "You are incompetent, unable to manage your time, and a failure." The reason for this disproportionate reaction is that the narcissist does not have a stable sense of identity. They are 100% dependent on external validation to feel valuable. A criticism threatens that validation and puts them in touch with the profound feeling of worthlessness that they spend their entire lives trying to hide. The reaction to this is narcissistic rage. They will attack, deflect blame, accuse you of being controlling, negative, or never satisfied. It is a desperate defense mechanism to protect the fragile glass statue from completely shattering. Number 5, firm and non-negotiable boundaries. Narcissists view other people not as separate individuals, but as extensions of themselves. Your needs, your desires, and your time must always be at their service. Boundaries to them are an affront. They are a declaration that you are a separate entity with your own mind, your own limits, and your own sovereignty, and they hate that. A maybe, or an "I'll think about it," still gives them room to manipulate, but a clear, firm no, with no justifications, is like slamming a steel door in their face. When you say, "No, I'm not available to help you with that on Saturday," and don't offer a long explanation or excuse. Or, "No, I do not accept you speaking to me in that tone. This conversation ends now." You are removing their power to control your time, your emotions, and your actions. They will test those boundaries relentlessly. They will call you selfish, cold, ungrateful. They will try to induce guilt. It's a power struggle. Maintaining the boundary, repeating the no calmly and without wavering, is a display of strength that completely destabilizes them. It shows that their control over you is over, and that is terrifying for them. Number 6, unmasking a lie with cold, hard proof. Reality for a narcissist is malleable. It is a tool to be twisted and shaped to suit their narrative of the moment. Lies are not just occasional, they are the very fabric of their existence. They create an alternate reality where they are always the victim, the hero, the misunderstood genius. Therefore, being confronted with cold, concrete, and irrefutable proof of a lie is one of the most destabilizing experiences for them. It's not about a "I said, you said" discussion. It's about presenting an email, a text, Message: a document that directly contradicts the story they are telling. The initial reaction will be panic, followed by a desperate attempt to discredit the proof. That message is out of context. You altered that image. If that fails, they will enter narcissistic rage, attacking you for spying on them, or for being crazy and obsessed. The attack is a distraction. What is really happening is that objective reality has invaded their fantasy bubble. The cold proof does not just expose a lie, it exposes the very fraudulent nature of who they are. And the annihilation of that facade is their greatest fear. Number 7. You receiving the admiration they crave. Envy is a central emotion in the narcissistic experience. They believe they are superior and therefore deserve everything good that happens in the world. Success, admiration, attention, love. When these things are directed at another person, especially someone close like you, it triggers pathological envy. They cannot feel genuine happiness for you. Instead, they feel that something that belonged to them by right has been stolen. Imagine a party. You tell a funny story, and everyone around laughs and gives you attention. Across the room, the narcissist watches, and the smile on their face is forced. Inside, they are furious. The attention you are receiving is the attention they are not receiving. They may try to minimize your story, quickly change the subject, or tell an even bigger, more impressive story to steal the spotlight back. Seeing you praised at work, receiving a meaningful gift from a friend, or simply being the center of a positive conversation attacks their fundamental belief that they are the only sun in the solar system and everyone else is just a planet orbiting them. Number 8. The power of humor and ridicule. Narcissistic people take themselves incredibly seriously. Their grandiosity depends on an air of importance, drama, and power. They need to be feared, admired, or revered. The last thing they can stand is being ridiculed. Humor that makes them the target is a devastating weapon because it deflates the inflated balloon of their self-importance. Laughing at one of their veiled threats, pointing out how absurd one of their demands is, or simply using sarcasm to expose their hypocrisy lowers them from the pedestal they built so carefully. When they start a dramatic monologue about how they were disrespected, and you, instead of being afraid or apologizing, let out a little laugh and say, "Wow, that sounds like it's straight out of a soap opera," you break the spell. You refuse to be an actor in their drama. The ridicule communicates that you no longer take them seriously, that you see through the facade, that they no longer have power over you. This enrages them because it turns them from a fearsome predator into a comedic character, and there is nothing a narcissist hates more than being the punchline. Number 9. Being discarded first. The final act in the narcissistic playbook is the discard. It is the ultimate power move, where they coldly and cruelly discard you, ensuring they come out on top, in control of the narrative, leaving you broken and confused. They need to be the only ones to end the story. Therefore, when you discard them first, you commit the cardinal sin. You steal the ending of their movie. Leaving them, especially if done decisively and with no contact, is the deepest blow to their grandiosity. First, it attacks the pathological fear of abandonment that hides under all the layers of arrogance. Second, it steals the control of the narrative from them. They can no longer paint themselves as the victim who had to leave the unstable partner. Instead, they are forced to confront the reality that they were rejected, insufficient, undesirable. This is a narcissistic wound so deep that they can spend years trying to rewrite the story, coming back to try to win you over, hoovering, just so they can, this time, be the one to discard you. Being left behind forces them to confront the idea that they are not unforgettable or irreplaceable. For a narcissist, this is total annihilation. We've analyzed the 9 cracks in the armor: indifference, your success, subtle exposure, criticism, boundaries, proof, the admiration of others, humor, and finally, abandonment. It is crucial that you understand this. This knowledge is not an invitation to war. It is not a manual to become a manipulative or vengeful person, to enter their game and try to beat them. Trying to beat a narcissist at their own game is like wrestling a pig in the mud. You both get dirty, but the pig enjoys it. The true power of this map is not in using it to destabilize them, but in using it to stabilize yourself. It is understanding why they react the way they react. It is the clarity that finally allows you to stop blaming yourself. You weren't too sensitive. You were reacting to a calculated provocation. You weren't insufficient. Your success was a threat to them. You weren't crazy. You were being systematically confused. Each of these 9 points is a thread that you can cut, not the strings that control them, but the strings they use to control you. By understanding what feeds them, you learn to stop serving them. By understanding what weakens them, you learn to strengthen your own defenses. The real turning point is realizing that you don't need to disarm them. You just need to put down your own weapons. Step out of the battlefield they created and walk towards your own peace. Freedom does not come from destroying the narcissist. Freedom comes from making the narcissist irrelevant in your life. And that journey begins with the devastating power of the understanding you now possess. Feel free to leave your story, your vent, or even a suggestion for a topic for the next video in the comments below. Click on the suggested video on the screen and stay with me. Remember, you are light. Never forget to shine.